We're awaiting the monthly inflation data. We're going to get some analysis with Tom Petrosky at ComSec in a moment. Andrew Clennell, our political editor, standing by, and a lot of people watching this number, Andrew, very closely. The expectation is from economists that it would moderate. The government putting out some expectation management, though, in recent days, saying that it might go up.
It's interesting they've done that. They've got well ahead of it, briefed journalists that health insurance went up. It's the Easter holidays, so people were travelling. That petrol has stayed up high. So they want to make sure that people aren't panicked that there's not going to be a rate cut, essentially, and we should be getting this figure at any time. Monthly indicator rose 3.6 in the 12 months to April is what I'm seeing here. So the most significant rises in housing, 4.9, food and non-alcoholic beverages, 3.8, alcohol and tobacco, 6.5, and transport, 4.2, but 3.6. And that's roughly in line with the annual figure. So, look, Kieran, to be honest, it could have been worse. It is up. It's ticked up, right? So in February to February was 3.4, March to March, 3.5, April to April, 3.6. So it's still sticky. But I guess I'm talking with some of this expectation management that's been briefed to me. Yeah. There were reasons for April to tick up a little. I actually thought it could be a little bit worse. It's still not great news, though, let's face it, Kieran. I mean, if you're thinking about a rate cut, I really am starting to think more 2025. Treasury are optimistic in their forecasts, as the Treasurer needs them to be, I think. And you see the overseas example of that. Fortunately for the government, the Labor Party's focus group research shows people see it as a global problem because they care a lot about this issue. They're actually taking more of an interest in this issue than they would in other political issues. And they're seeing that in the US, New Zealand and other jurisdictions, inflation is sticky. Disappointing news, could have been worse. That's my sum up of this figure, 3.6 for the monthly indicator for inflation, Kieran.
Andrew, stay where you are. We'll get some more analysis in a moment. I want to go to ComSec. Tom Petrosky's there. Tom, this number, it's up. And as Andrew rightly points out, inflation remains sticky.
And that's the challenge, Kieran, when it comes to inflation. There's the low-hanging fruit that you get in the early part of the initiative trying to control inflation. But as time moves on, then it becomes a little more challenging and less palatable because you're potentially talking about, the higher potential for interest rates at the margin. So as Andrew rightly points out, the headline rate at 3.6 was above the 3.4 that the market was looking at, so a beat there. But what markets look at most closely is the core measure. So this is stripping out the volatile items like food and energy, and this outcome was, again, above what the market was looking for at 4.1%. So these are the volatile items that get stripped out. That will be an unpalatable outcome for the markets. And at a time when we were already under pressure today, where stocks were concerned, you had the ASX 200 down by around 0.2% just moments before the release. At its worst, the index was down by close to 1%. This will just energise the sellers a little bit more. We'd already seen upward pressure on interest rate markets. So both 3 and 10-year bond futures were higher by about 10 basis points. So that's a reflection of what happened in US trade last night, largely. So again, this could put a little more pressure on the interest rate markets today. The pricing was for a move of a cut in September, but it wasn't fully priced into the market. So this could potentially see that priced out. And as Andrew rightly pointed out, you're kicking the can down the road when it comes to the potential for rate cuts.
Indeed, Tom Petrosky, thank you. And as Tom says, it kicks the can down the road. And the question is, the RBA's held rates since November. Do we see maybe a hike?
I don't think we'll see a hike. God, I hope not. Speaking from a personal perspective, no, I think Michelle Bullock's made clear that that's on the table, but they really don't want to do it. And they talk to the Treasurer and Treasury a lot, and they would have warned them about a slight blip in April. Look, it's not good news. If you're thinking about a rate cut at the end of the year, forget about it. I'd go that far. There is a very micro question out of this too about what happens in this place today, Parliament. Do the opposition continue with Andrew Giles, which they should do, wholly and solely Andrew Giles, or do they look to this issue which affects everyone in Australia and which everyone cares about, and that's inflation. And does Jim Chalmers then say, oh, don't worry, energy bills are coming down, that'll help this? It's still a tough fight for the government. It's what most people are interested in, I'd say. I think migration detainees, fair enough. Andrew Giles looks like he's not in control of the immigration system. That's ripe to try and target him and get him sacked. Moved on. But I think this is the biggest issue today because all of us feel this issue every single day, Kieran.
Indeed, and we're going to have some questions put to voters today out on the streets for our program after Question Time Politics Now, and I'm interested to see what voters say because I think you're right. Issue 1, 2 and 3 is right now cost of living and interest rates.
And the argument is the government could have done more on this budget in terms of spending, cutting spending, and that's one Chris Richardson, who I have deep respect for, believes. They will argue the energy bill relief has an effect on inflation and doesn't kick in till July. They'll argue this is a blip. But I'll tell you what, they wouldn't want the next monthly figure to be at this level. They wouldn't want that at all. And you can see that slide, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6. The annual figure's 3.6. They point out it's supposed to be by June 2024, according to Treasury estimate, 3.5. I suppose they could get there. But then how does it magically get to 2.75 by the end of the year? I'd be happy as Larry to eat my words on that one, Kieran, but it just seems so far off where we are right now, just about at the beginning of June, the 6th month of the year.